Greetings, pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today we are back with a quick episode introducing a little three-part series that we're going to be doing here to make our mini-map even better. And I realize we have a problem in the current world of gaming with mini-maps, and I'm sure you've seen this too. This is the typical experience. I have this building, and I'm playing my game, I'm running around my world, and I run into the building, and what do I see on the mini-map? All I ever see is the roof of this building. Now, it's great, it tells me roughly where I'm in the building. I can say, hey, I'm in the left corner here, you can come get me, whatever, if I'm calling out to a friend to tell them where I left something. But it would be handy if I could just not see the roof dynamically as I'm walking through the world. Now, funny enough, that's what I've built. So over here we have an example of a multi-storied building. So this works for single-story buildings, as we'll see later in our example over here, and for any number of multi-story buildings that you like. It can even include an example of having buildings that are more L-shaped, and I'll show you that shortly as well. So here's our building, and here's what's going to happen is as I enter the building, it's going to dynamically hide all the floors above me. So if I enter this building, boom, every floor above is now hidden, and we can see that I didn't do a full job of getting rid of all the grass from inside. But as you can see, when I walk in this building, it's removing the above floors, and it's showing me on the mini-map the larger objects in this room. So we have this rug, and we have this table, and there's some kind of a cabinet here in the corner. So that helps you kind of pinpoint where things are, and it'll help give you better directions to tell people where you are in the game world. So if you have to find something, you can always tell them, hey, it's inside on the table there. Boom, right? So now let's go up the stairs, and you'll see that once my head sort of breaches the next floor, boom, now it's showing me this floor. And you can see I can still see the floors beneath it where there's a hole in the geometry here, which makes sense, right? I want to be able to see the stairs to go down while I'm in this room. And once again, I've tagged only this object and not this one as being an object that you can see on the mini-map as well. And finally, we can go to a third floor, and again, once my head kind of breaches the surface that I'm now looking at this floor, now we see this floor here, and I can go up on top. Very cool. So this is a pretty simple setup, and it's one script. And I'm going to show that to you, but first let's take a look at some of our other examples over here. So let me bound along. So I got this pack of models online, and I'll try to find the link and put it in the description for you if you want to use the same one. So one of the problems is you have to be able to separate your mesh and be able to say what is ceiling and what's not. So these modular kits are pretty good for that. So here's the first one floor example. If I walk inside, boom, I can now see the floor here because it's no longer looking at the ceiling. And I go outside, and there we go. And you'll notice that there's this thing, this roll-up door. It doesn't have a collider yet, so let's pretend that it's open. I can also work when I go outside here. So either entrance, and it works appropriately each time. Excellent. So now let's go to a two-story example. So when I walk in the bottom floor here, you'll notice that I don't see anything in the room because there's nothing been tagged. I can leave, I can come back in, no problems. Now if I do a little bit of parkour here, and if I jump up on top of the door, I can then go into the second floor. Now I'm on the second floor, and you'll notice I don't see the bottom floor, but what I see is this floor with these two crates, and there's this object, and then there's this panel on the wall that's been tagged, and you can see all of these objects on the mini-map. And I can leave via this open window-ish looking thing, and if I go back in through this open window-ish looking thing, there we go. So each time I go in and out, it's appropriately taking the correct floor. And as you've seen, it works with 3-floored buildings, single-story, and 2-story buildings. So let's take a look at how it works, okay? So in my scene, let's take a look at the 1-floored example to begin with. So this is this asset sample 1. So this building, this is just a blank object that's at this location. And since it's 1 story, the whole building becomes the thing that has the box collider. So you just assign a box collider, and you can do this edit collider to move around the wall. So you see these little dots floating here. I can click and drag that to set the boundary. So I set it right there at the edge, so right as I walk in the room. When you're done editing, you can click this button here, and it will remove the editing mode, and you're back into normal mode. Then you just have to apply the script, so this building interior script. And all this does is it says for everything that is associated with this building that is set to the minimap layer, when I enter this collider, which you have to click is trigger, click that. So when I enter that space, it's going to say, okay, what do I want to hide? What is the roof of this particular layer that you want me to hide? And that is this thing that is called floor 1 ceiling. So let's take a look. What is floor 1 ceiling? So if I look at the structure here, building 1 can be anything I want. This is just an empty object that has all of the models in it. That's literally all it is. But this floor 1 ceiling, it has 2 objects, these 2 objects here. So if I move them around a little bit, that's all it's doing, is it's saying, don't show these 2 objects. So what I did was I put those under an empty object by themselves. And now on here, I just tell it, I just click and drag, so these are in this object. So I go to this object, click and drag this one right there, boom, and it's done. And now every time I walk in and walk out, it's gonna hide that portion. So now let's talk about a 2-story and beyond example. It's a little bit more complicated, okay? So this is our 2-story example here. So let's open this guy up, and you'll notice he's been subdivided into 2 objects, a floor 1 and a floor 2. Let's talk about floor 1. Floor 1, as you can see, has a box collider. So if I edit that, you'll see it's the exact same one I just copied from over here and then started building up higher. So that is good, and it is going to hide the entire contents of floor 2. So it would effectively do this. Boop. So it's going to get rid of that, and this is all you're going to see, minus the lighting, because the Minimap camera doesn't do that. So that's what floor 1 is going to hide. So what am I going to hide when I'm on floor 2? Well, if we look at floor 2's collider, you'll see something interesting. Floor 2's collider is actually covering floors 1 and 2. So we're saying that anywhere in here we're going to hide. And the reason for this overlap is when I come into floor 1, I want to hide floor 2. But when I'm in floor 2, I need to hide floor 1 stuff, and I need to hide the ceiling that this is going to tell me of floor 2 roof. So you have to have this overlap for every successive floor. So for 2nd floor, 3rd floor, etc. Your collider must contain the floor you're on and all the floors below it. The reason being that when I'm in these other floors, we have to hide them in order, because if I go into floor 1, I want to hide floor 2 and floor 3. So this collider has to get even bigger, because essentially when I walk into floor 1, I'm hiding the floor 2, and then I'm hiding floor 3 as well to see just floor 1. Okay? So all you have to remember is for floor 1, it's just its box. For every floor above it, it has to be its box and all the floors below it. So if you had a 7-story building, it would be the 7th story, and then you would do this edit collider and grab this bottom one. You'd grab this guy and just drag him down, 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 down until he reaches the very ground floor. And there you go. Then it would hide everything appropriately. So if you look here, floor 2 though, when I step into floor 2, all it is hiding is floor 2 roof. And as you can see, that object here is underneath floor 2. There's floor 2 roof. And if I hide that object, you see, just like before, all it is those 2 panels to kind of get rid of the roof so we can see what's going on in floor 2. Excellent, and that's really it. So let's take a look at the script. So here's the script, and this will be in the download, so don't worry about that. You don't even have to understand how it works. Just make sure that you bring it into your project. I recommend like a scripts folder. I'll show you what I have going on here. So this is Minimap Part 3, Inside Outside Minimap System. That's what I call that for. So now for this, I have the script, and what you do is right-click and say Create Folder, and call it Scripts, and you can just drag and drop it in there. Okay? So it'll keep things nice and organized for you. Very good. So now, to go back to the script, let's take a look at what it's doing. I'll describe this briefly. We did leave some notes here. Again, huge shout out to my father for his help with this. Kind of figured this out together, and we did it really quick. So what you must have is a box collider that says is trigger. Okay, these collider objects must be children of the game object to which the script is attached. Okay, it has to be on that same object. And then you have to have a reference to the thing you want to be hidden. And that's it. So the rest of this is setting up our variables, making sure we get the tag of player, so your character must be tagged as player. Then we have a developer note here that says if you try to do this and you don't have a roof defined, it will warn you. Okay, so this is a nice little thing. It will warn you. Look for it in the console if you have that missing. Now, when we do a collision, we say if is player.gameObject return, or if is not, then just return. We don't care. It's only if the player is the thing that comes in, we're going to call our function. And our function down here says we're going to call new layer and pass in roof default layer. And down here in new layer, it's going to say move all the children to the reference layer. So what's happening is it's actually moving the layer that the objects are on. So we're not actually hiding objects in the scene, so they still exist, which means they'll still be there for physics and other things, but we're putting it on a different layer. So we're saying move it to the default layer versus moving it to the minimap layer. Okay? And that's what will move this back and forth and allow it to either be seen or not be seen on the minimap layer. See, just like that. Very cool. So that's all you have to do is attach your script, build your buildings, but that's not all. We're not stopping here. So this is just showing you how the minimap script works and how we have our examples. But you notice that this kit is good and it's okay, but we still want to have a little bit more control over exactly the shapes of things and all that. So I've been playing with Pro Builder, and that's how I built our first example here. And I'm going to show you an entire little series on how to use Pro Builder. Let me tell you, it is amazing. So you can see over here I have a little bit of stuff set up already. These are the textures created by Pro Builder. It actually measures out in meters and tells you how big things are, and there's a whole snapping system. It's incredible. So I actually built all of this in less than a minute or so, and then each of these is a different foundation for another building type I'm planning to show you how to do everything from walls, windows, roofs, stairs. You can get everything. We're going to have stairs right here. We're going to have doorways, everything. So that's coming up. We're going to be talking about the entire process of using Pro Builder to build things. You can even unwrap them inside of Unity, so you no longer have to use a 3D modeling package or something like this. As long as you have textures like this you can use, or you can get them, you can build your buildings to your specifications, and then you can unwrap them and make them look the way you need. So if I wanted like a lip on this that doesn't exist here, like a little extra piece jutting off, I could build that here, and it's super easy, and you're gonna love it. So I wanted to show you guys first how this all works and how you can make this work, and now I'm going to show you how to make your own buildings. So we'll continue and talk about how to make our own buildings, how to unwrap them, how to add some textures to our world and make sure that our buildings look awesome. So all of our combat can be focused around some really cool modern buildings, medieval buildings, whatever you want. It's all for you. One final thing I wanted to talk about is this building, as you can see here, when I walk into it, it's a square building. I made a box collider. Well, the question might come up, what happens if I have like an L-shaped building? Well, there's an invisible box over here, and you see when I walk into it, you see how the red is going away? So there's an invisible box over here, which is an extension to the first floor to say, hey, I can also walk over here and make this happen. So all you'd have to do is build out your shape, build out your L shape like you would any other building. And when you go to build your box colliders, you just need to add an extra one. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So over here, for my test house here, so floor 1, there he is. You can see there's a second box collider right here. So if I go to that box collider and I can say, okay, well, I want to make this like an L-shaped building, so let's move it like this. And now it has this extra little funny piece coming off. So if I were to continue my walls to do the same thing, and I have to do the walls to the top, you wouldn't even have to do the walls to the top, actually. You could just do the bottom floor, could fill out this space, and then the top floor could just be confined to this area. And as long as you follow the rules and make sure that your box colliders, even if you have to have more than one on layer 1, if all it does is hide floor 2, and then for floor 2, which is this guy, he would just have to say anything that's directly under him. So this is fine. This box collider would go straight down like that. And there you go. You can now have buildings that don't have to conform to, square shapes. You can do rectangles, squares, L shapes, whatever you want, as long as you have a collider. Now, something like a spherical building might be a little difficult, but you'd have lots of little box colliders all, angled out. But you could do it. It is possible. So there you go, guys. I hope you have enjoyed very much. Thank you so much for your kind time and patience with changing the schedule. So we have officially moved to a 2-week schedule. I have today, Fridays off, and I want to be able to do this for you as the highest possible quality, take my time and make sure that it is excellent. So that's what we will be doing. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, please check the link in the description for the Discord. I am on that 24/7, trying to answer your questions as quickly as I can and help you out. And as always, please make sure you follow all the instructions. Make sure you do everything correctly. Follow all the steps, because if you skip something, it's very hard to help you hunt it down, and I really want to. I want to solve the problems for you. But check out the Discord, follow the rules, please use the appropriate channels, and we'll be happy to help you get going. So until next time, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.